So, can you explain yourself? What is going on with this city?
I will. But before that, I have to tell you a story about the glorious days of Eldoria. Eldoria and Radia were once the pride of a united continent. They shared everything, from trade to culture, and even a common currency.
Radia? We've been to Radia recently. We escorted a friend.
Or maybe he escorted us.
You mean Aristei?
Do you know him?
He was the one who told me about you two, and that you may help me. Us. We used to train together when we were younger, but after a while we went our separate ways. We haven't spoken for years, till he recently sent me a letter about a charming bard and a wise druid. I was waiting for your arrival, even though you're really hard to miss.
Hey, why are you looking at me like that? It was a celebration. Till it wasn't, at least.
So, what happened between Eldoria and Radia?
A bit of a sibling rivalry, you could say. A civil war brewed between them, tearing apart the Union. Eldoria eventually triumphed, but victory came at a price. The war's end left Eldoria barren, struck by famine and poverty. Radia, on the other hand, stood divided, but relatively prosperous. And so, they walked separate paths.
And Eldoria's prosperity came at a dark price.
Exactly. The king saw a means to bring prosperity back, even if it meant a pact with a demon. Others left for other cities, and others asked for mercy from Radia and stayed there. Of course, that was a hard blow for the king, so he made a deal. He sold his soul, quite literally, to a demon.
Souls? Sacrifice?
Bingo.
And what about you? How did you learn all about this?
I once was a guard, sworn to protect the king. But when I stumbled upon this little demon pact, let's just say I became a rogue for a reason.
So you've been lurking around the shadows ever since?
I've been trying to dig up evidence, expose the truth.
A heavy burden to carry by yourself.
Thank you, Bard. You seem much considered.
Do I? And the name's Lovette.
I know.
Guys, we need to stay focused. Darian, have you talked to anyone else about this?
I've tried, but no one seems to believe me. They call me a lunatic. That's why I need evidence. That's why I need your help.
And why do you trust us?
Call it a hunt. Or maybe because you are the most intriguing thing to come my way in a while.
You have my staff.
And my longbow. Alright, so, what's the plan? You do have a plan, right?
Not a plan, actually, but I have information that could help us create one. When I stumbled upon the contract, I had been assigned to guard the secret room in the palace basement. Nobody was allowed to inquire about or enter the room, and it always had 2 guards posted. One day, my fellow soldier fell asleep while on duty. As I was about to wake him, I heard strange, otherworldly noises coming from inside. My curiosity overpowered my caution, leading me to enter the room where I found the contract. However, it was locked behind a magical barrier. I couldn't even touch it, despite my attempts. This triggered the alarm, and my sleeping comrade woke up. I made a swift exit, lucky to escape unharmed.
So lucky indeed.
Do you really think the contract will still be in the same room after you've discovered it? Or that there will still be 2 guards on post? I believe there will be more now after the incident, given that they also know someone has gained knowledge of this.
I doubt it's still in the same room, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've added more soldiers to ensure its safety. Also, the second thing you need to know is our time limit. We have 3 days until the king's election. All the festivities span 7 days, and currently we are on day 4, time's ticking.
3 days are more than enough if we play this right. So, here's the plan. First, we try to collect as much information as we can about the palace and possible traps.
I know about the traps. You can count on me. They're too hard to change in such a short term.
That simplifies our job. So, next up is Sionnach. You should infiltrate the palace in a smaller form, explore the premises, and gather any useful information. Just observe, no interference.
I can use my wild shape and turn into a spider, maybe.
That's perfect. I'll try to get information from the guards. Darian, I guess you know some of them.
I do. They usually drink at the Eldoria tavern after their watch, but there's no way they...
And then there's this tree inside that big room. A tree and a room. Can you imagine? Maybe it's keeping an eye on the secret chamber, which is nearby too. You have such beautiful eyes. Can I have one more song?
Yeah, I think they will. After we get the information we need, we try to sneak inside.
That man said something about a tree in the room. I saw it too. It's near the secret chamber, indeed. I can teleport us there through another tree.
Sionnach, that's amazing! Such an interesting spell.
But what about the guards? I saw 5 of them outside of the chamber.
And we don't want to start a fight inside the palace.
Guys, it's not always about fights. Sometimes all you need is a valid suggestion. Hello, gentlemen. I suggest you all hand over your keys and relocate to the next room, maintaining absolute silence.
That was impressive.
Good job, Lovette. But what about the magical barrier that holds the contract?
I can dispel it, and once I do, we go straight to the king's chamber. This man needs to be stopped.
Wait a minute. It all seems so easy. What if someone sees us?
What do you mean? This plan is a masterpiece. There is no way they...
Intruders!
Okay. I got you covered, though. We met a few days ago in a tavern. I am Lovette the Bard. My song gave you hope for the future while you were feeling depressed and lonely. You were so thankful for that. That's why you helped me and my friends find the king's chamber without further notice.
Lovette the Bard! I'm so happy to see you again! Come, I'll lead you to the king's chamber.
That's so exciting.
Do you often enjoy playing with people's minds?
You know, a thanks would be more sufficient, don't you think?
Here you are.
Thanks. Alright, guys. We made it. Let's go.
Darian Shadowswift and his companions. At last, we've been anticipating your arrival.
Anticipating? Welcome to another episode of the D&D podcast.
We want to wish you a happy new year, guys. We hope you had an amazing time with your loved ones, and we also hope that all of you are full of the Christmas food.
Today we will be discussing a really important topic, the magical topic of spells in D&D. The casting time will be more than 10 minutes for this, maybe more, but we promise you'll get inspired after it. Are you ready for it, Zephy?
Always. So, let's start with the basics. Well, care to share your favorite utility spell, one that you absolutely love, and why?
Well, it's not that hard to choose really for me, because I usually play a druid or a cleric most of the time. And my first move on a fight is Fairy Fire, especially when we have loads of enemies positioned all together. I just love the fact that I can give advantage on attack rolls to all my allies just because I make the enemies sparkle with my fairy dust. That's how I always pictured it, greenish aura that looks like fairy dust. Also, when it comes to cantrips, I'd say Guidance is something I always like to use lately. what can I say? I like to help people, okay? So let me guide you, please. But what about you, Zephy? You played a bard. I guess you have a lot to choose from.
I think as a bard, I love the tiny hat spell. It's very convenient and helpful when you travel a lot. It keeps you safe and you can organize it as you like. Lovette has decorated in a specific way, you'll see in the future, but I am looking forward to her taking the magnificent mansion spell and decorating someday.
Lovette's mansion is going to be so extra. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I can picture a colorful and cute palace for her, maybe.
It's gonna have so many rooms, actually. Each one for each of her friends, and the thematics will be different. Actually, I have a Pinterest section for this.
A Pinterest board about
Pinterest
this.
board. Yeah, guilty AF.
I can't wait to see it. But what about offensive spells? Which spell has made the most impact in a battle or encounter for you, Zephy?
Offensive. To be honest, I don't remember. The first thing that comes to mind is a meteor swarm I have casted with a sorcerer I used to play way back in time. I don't think it went pretty well though, but I honestly don't remember much. I like playing with weapons, to be honest. Weapons and magic, that's my jam. But my favorite offensive spell, and even though I've never had the opportunity to use it, is Fireball. But do you recall any offensive spell of yours or your favorite one?
Well, I have two that I usually take that I can think of. It's usually Moonbeam and Blight.
Oh, yeah.
I don't usually enjoy doing damage. I do prefer supporting, but Blight is literally my all-time favorite spell in general. I even named my black cat after it.
I love her. Tell me that she's hearing her name right now. She's like,
I can't even see where she is. She's not here. I think she's in my bedroom.
Okay, she's an independent woman, okay? She can be wherever she wants.
Well, the reason that I love Blight so much, when Sionnach became soulless and hollow, we ended up leveling up, I remember. And that was the first spell I chose for her. It was all thematic in my head. She being cursed and all and empty inside, blah, blah, blah. It was just the best option for her, really. The only time I used it with her, I did 88 necrotic damage to a creature, and that felt so epic for her. So Blight has been my favorite spell ever since. And truly, I love the word and the sound of it, and it holds a special place in my heart now. But I'm going to try not to get emotional.
You're halfway there.
Halfway there. Not yet, but let's talk about something else, okay?
Okay.
Let's talk about unconventional ways of using a spell. Is there a time that you can recall that you used a spell in an unexpected way? And how did it surprise the DM or the other players?
Well, I think I have a memory for this. Back when I was playing with Lovette, my friends and I found a temple of the goddess Timora. There were lots of rocks and debris which were closing the entrance, and apparently we needed to solve a riddle or something like that to get in. And as Lovette said in a previous episode, she doesn't like riddles. She gets bored just by thinking about them. So she polymorphed into a gorilla or something that had a lot of strength. So she literally brute forced themselves into the temple, and my DM was ready to lose his hair if he had any to begin with. Damn, I hope he listens to this. It was fun though. What about you?
Well, after this, have a seat, people, because this will be a really dark and bumpy ride.
Oh my God.
But back when I started playing Willow, you will meet her, hopefully, in the future. She's a druid circle of spores. She's a wee, cute, 11-year-old halfling. So I went and I asked my DM at the time if I could get a cantrip made by Matthew Mercer. It was just an innocent cantrip called Decompose that was used by Caduceus Clay, if you'll remember it.
Yay!
So he obviously said yes, because there's nothing wrong with decomposing corpses. It's also good for the environment too, right?
Eco-friendly.
Yeah. So Willow had other plans. She was actually using it to create mushrooms.
Okay.
She had ADHD and loads of trauma, that caused her to be a little feral and kooky at
I love
times.
her. I love her. Thank you for this.
She also had terrible nightmares by the goddess of poison, Talona. So the way to her heart, a way to lure her, let's say, was giving her mushrooms. So every time she found like a dead body anywhere, she decomposed it and made mushroom soup or any other recipe she knew, or sometimes she was just eating them raw. So my DM decided
That sounds delicious, the least.
yeah. Well, Caduceus Clay was making tea out of dead people, so no offense.
To be honest, I prefer the tea.
Well, yeah, maybe. Sure. But my DM decided not to let me be able to eat the mushrooms anymore after a while because he thought this is a broken way of finding food, basically. Even though I was never meaning to do that, I was just being weird.
I believe you in that.
I really did. I promise. But I have a cool question.
Okay.
If you could add a custom spell to the D&D universe, what would it be? Describe its effects and potential uses, Effie.
Oh my god, I love this question. Well, Lovette's goal, before she was banished to another plane of existence, was to create a spell that doesn't exist in the universe through music and use it when she would go back to Gridania and save her home. She is a spell junkie, so she started writing an orchestral score. She thought that this spell, in order to work, would need the cooperation of all the bards. It would be a whole orchestra. So me and my DM came up with a lot of ideas, and then the campaign stopped and the podcast started, and Lovette finds herself in another world. And while she tries to find a way to come back and still, she still explores it. The tastes, the people, the music, only the knowledge that other planes of existence exist was a huge blow and inspiration for her. So I started to change my thought of this spell since all this happened. And I have a thought about a spell which I call Ethereal Harmonics. Upon casting the spell, the caster summons an ethereal symphony infused with magical elements. An otherworldly orchestra materializes, creating an aura of resonant harmonies. So there will be 4 harmonies, each one giving a different buff. One of them may give you a bonus to your spell damage or heals. Another one may give an extra d something to damage. Another one may give temporary hit points. And the last one gives you the opportunity to change the harmony each turn as a bonus action. I have written it with a full description. It's a concentration spell, of course, and probably a 6th level spell. I think 6 works fine. So yeah, I don't know if you like it, but it's still in the works.
I do like it, and it reminds me kind of Sauna for some reason. From
Yeah, that's true.
Legends.
With more people. What about you, though?
Oof. This is like one of the hardest questions I've been asked to in my whole life to create a spell. It's hard though. And I want to say something funny, like create a spell that polymorphs enemies into mushrooms, I don't know, or something. But I'm a bit of an edgelord and an emo. And I swear I don't like the drama. It loves me.
Yes, Taylor.
Hey, Tay. So the only time I ever thought of ever creating a homebrew spell or whatever it was going to be, it was back when I was really depressed about Sionnach's fate. I remember lying in bed after the session when her tree was burnt. I felt so empty and sad, and I was trying to think of every possible way to fix her. I had an idea of a way of checking up on her healing progress, maybe. So she had an ability as a half-dryad that is a variation of the spell Goodberry, but with a twist. She could create nuts from the tree she originated from instead. So I had 1 hazelnut left before my tree got burned, and as I said, I just planted a new tree.
Mm-hmm.
My idea was to create a spell that works like the scrying spell, but a bit different. I wanted to take a hazelnut from the new tree and attune with it, become one literally, and be able to check once a day the progress of the roots, the progress of the tree's health, to contact with it, basically like a sending stone / hazelnut, but also a scrying spell at the same time. So, of course, that never happened, and we stopped playing, but it would have meant so much to her if she could have done that. But I'm glad I tried so hard to find ways to fix her. So I do think that if I ever created a spell, I would prefer to create one that gives me more flavor to my role play, just who I am. Can you try and recall a spell that created a memorable, funny, or unexpected moment during a game session? What happened and how did it influence the gameplay or the narrative?
Oof, so many to be honest. Okay, I would like to talk about my all-in paladin, but I think I'm gonna keep this for another time that is more suitable. So bear with Lovette a little longer. Her friend Drake, the barbarian of the party, died in an epic battle we had with a nymph and a hag. So Drake's girlfriend Corta was devastated by his death. It was a heavy session. Of course, Lovette was out of spell slots, but she just got raised dead. And during their level up, she told Corda that she would try to bring him back. Okay, mechanically speaking, the spell just works if the creature is willing to return. But come on, bringing someone for the first time from the dead isn't something you do every day in order to take it lighthearted. So we decided to make it heavier. Lovette wasn't sure if she could make it, and next day she played and sang a song that brought her to the underworld. There she found Drake's soul, and with her song she lured him out. The whole idea actually was inspired by the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. When Drake came back, Lovette was left with dark black hair and black eyes because she was kind of touched by the death's embrace. It didn't last long though. She came back to her normal self a few hours later. So this spell created a very emotional moment for all the characters. So RP your spells and make them count. You can create so many wonderful scenes. And finally, always have Raise Dead prepared and diamonds of 500G on you. You never know what happens.
Definitely.
You have to be prepared for anything. But enough of my mumbling. Tell me about yours.
Well, to be honest, I'm keeping all the epic moments I accidentally or intentionally was a part of for another episode of ours.
Keep it.
I can remember though, during a fight when I was playing Willow again, one of the enemies was cornering an ally and he was literally in danger. So I decided to use a new spell we had just got access to, which is called Wither and Bloom. Oh my god, whoever made this, thank you.
What is that?
Basically, the description says that you invoke both death and life upon a 10-foot radius sphere, and each creature of your choice in that area must make a Constitution saving throw, or they take 2d6 necrotic damage if they fail. But hear me out. You can also choose one of your allies to roll a hit dice and regain hit points equal to the roll plus your spellcasting ability modifier. So I did damage to the enemy because the DM failed the con save, and I also saved my friend all at the same time.
My god.
I know it's really good. It's really nice.
It's really nice.
So lately though, I've been playing a cleric of the moon. Her name is Jupiter. And somehow it's always funny the fact that I can't stop being creative with the descriptions of some of the spells I use for her. I think I'm just inspired because of Shadowheart.
And I was wondering.
Yeah, of course. So she's a cleric of the moon, obviously. And I love how my spiritual weapon always looks like a crescent moon boomerang, and how I always use it to strike them up the butt like Ashley Johnson used to do so too. And I always try to be descriptive when I'm casting a spell. And I think that's really important because you visualize everything better. Like when I say it, I can actually see it. So it definitely influences the roleplay aspect for everyone. And let's be honest, it can be funny sometimes. I remember with Sionnach, I used to cast Healing Spirit when we were doing a short rest. And I loved how I was always bringing little like spirit animals, cute foxes and stags and ferrets to heal us. So it's not exactly a specific spell for me that makes everything special. It's the way you describe it.
And that's the beauty in this game, I think. You know, describe your spells, describe your abilities, describe your actions. It's all in your imagination. So
Exactly.
do it. The RP or the combat are just small parts in this game. And you don't need your DM to describe all the scenes for you. You can also describe some things sometimes. But apart from spells, there are also many great abilities in D&D. Can you share a class ability that you mostly enjoy?
Yeah, I know that most people who usually play druids would say wild shape,
Yep.
but no. I'm a huge supporter of all the other circles and subclasses of the druid class because even though being a moon druid is cool and all, and you get to turn into bigger animals and an elemental at some point, but I can't overlook the beauty of playing a classic Circle of the Land druid, for example. The amazing connection you have with nature just fascinates me. I love how when you're a Circle of the Land druid, you can use natural recovery and regain spell slots back just by meditating and communicating with nature and knowing Druidic as a language too. How cool is that? You can all speak a secret language and no one really knows what you're talking about. Also, I do remember when I was playing a ranger, I loved the fact I had the favorite enemy and I could just make this my whole personality. Literally. Primeval awareness was so cool on the old ranger class before it got revised. The fact I could just go all feral and roll a survival check to track my favorite enemy down with advantage was just so cinematic in my head. But what about you, Zephy?
When it has to do with abilities, I think I would choose monks. They are the top of their tier. I mean, I love deflective missiles, stunning strike, whenever you hit that, anyway, stillness of mind, timeless body, they are amazing. But what I love most is the ability that the Way of the Open Hand monk takes once they reach 17 level, Quivering Palm. Actually, I have created May, Sionnach's friend, just for this ability, and, I never got to play it, in a campaign at least. But still, it's amazing. And monks are amazing in general. And broken. They are broken.
Yeah.
So, which ability, in your opinion, has been the most strategically valuable in overcoming challenges or foes? How did it shine in that situation?
Okay, thinking about it, I'm just realizing how powerful Circle of Spores is.
No.
Because I keep talking about Willow. You should all try it, by the way.
Noted.
I have to say that one of its abilities is one of the ones I love using and abusing all the time, and it was so annoying for the DM. I'm so sorry. Basically, while using my symbiotic entity as an action, I gain loads of extra temporary hit points because I awaken the spores in me. How cool is that?
That's so freaking cool.
So what I always used to do in a fight every round was to use my Hello Spores, which is a reaction that does necrotic damage to one creature that moves into a space within 10 feet of me or starts its turn there if they fail a Constitution saving throw. So I loved how tanky Willow was with all this extra hit points and how many enemies I've killed by just using the reaction to unleash like mushroom hell and do necrotic damage to them.
Mushroom.
What about you, Zephy?
Mushrooms everywhere.
Mushrooms everywhere.
Mushroomception.
What about you?
Well, I haven't played this subclass, to be honest, but this ability, I think it's amazing. And I am talking about Cleric, Grave Domain. When you reach 6th level, I think, you can use your reaction when you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you suffers a critical hit. You can turn that hit into a normal hit, and all its effects are cancelled. So that's amazing. And I would also pick the ability that the Druid of Stars has at 6th level, the Cosmic Omen. Basically, after each long rest, you roll a die, a d6. If the number is even, whenever a creature you can see within 30 feet of you is about to make an attack roll, a saving throw, or an ability check, you can use your reaction to roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the total. If the number is odd, then you subtract the number rolled from the total. It's coming handy, and it's also very cinematic. You see the stars and you take a glimpse of the future, and
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, you read star maps in your real life.
I do.
It's going to be amazing for you. So, if you were to multi-class, what ability from another class would you want to incorporate into your current build? How would it complement your character?
Okay, so multi-classing for me is not usually ideal for some reason. I've done it only once, and again, just for the theme, because I made a character like Merida with a dark twist. So she was just multi-classing as a ranger and a werebear, because the DM asked me to, so we could just make it work. But a while ago, I was playing a half-orc barbarian, and how I thought of making her a druid barbarian at some point. Because just think about it, a half-orc, wild shaping into a bear while also raging. That would be epic, right?
What
Oh,
happened with her?
Unfortunately, she died. Poor Ronan, he left us
Oh,
too soon.
oh my
What
God.
do you think about multiclassing?
That's sad. Well, I don't think I would multiclass a character of mine with something else, to be honest, but I like the idea of the rogue scanning action combined with the wizard, School of Illusions. The rogue scanning action allows them to easily reposition on the battlefield. By pairing this with illusion spells, they could create distractions or illusory duplicates, using cunning action to swiftly move into advantageous positions or surprise enemies. And it also enhances the rogue stealth capabilities. They could use illusions to create cover or decoys, then utilize cunning action to swiftly move into hiding, allowing for, strategic ambushes or stealthy retreats. I don't know. It sounds very cool. Or it just seems cool in my mind.
It seems really cool indeed.
It is, actually. It is.
I want you to share an
Okay.
incident where an ability enhanced your role-playing experience or significantly influenced an in-game decision, and how did it shape your character story or actions?
I think I'm gonna talk about Oliver. Oliver is an Olin paladin of the ancients, and he is so sweet
He's
and
so cute.
cute and brave, and I love him so much. When he began his journey at level 1, he was a little owl, so shy and scared of the world. He was from Feywild, and he came to the material plane in order to find his father, who became a pirate. And Oliver stayed in the city of Saltzmars for a couple of years. Many people were bullying him because he was different. They would hit him a lot, and he would cry a lot. And oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? So anyway, he was always scared of the people and the world, and he was also very shy of others. And the only friend he ever got was the gravekeeper of the town, who was like a father to him. Oliver then met his party, and they left for the new adventures at sea. So later on, we are at 10th level. That's when you unlock the Aura of Courage as a paladin. With that ability, you and your friendly creatures within 10 feet of you can be frightened while you are conscious. So it was a great cinematic because a war was about to take place, and Oliver gave an emotional speech full of bravery that an aura bursted out of him, and people were fueled with courage to fight. And it was so cool because, character development. And it's a cool ability too. What about you?
This is the only time Wild Shape served me right.
Oh my God, it exists.
It does. And I know how to use it. Okay. So as you already know, I don't know if you know that so far. Sionnach was so shy.
No, I don't know that. You
So,
guys know that?
People will know by now, I think, that
From the
she's really shy. So she actually felt more comfortable being around animals and humans before she met May and the others. Even then, though, she was extremely awkward around them and always blushing. So I remember a day they all went to a temple of Sun, the goddess of beauty and love.
Oh my God. Memories.
The clerics.
Memories.
The clerics of the temple wanted to give her and May a makeover. So it felt like a spa day, actually. It was so cute, the whole concept of her getting more comfortable in her own skin by seeing how beautiful she can be. And after they got their makeover, they went and jumped in a hot tub all together. So they were all half naked. And Sionnach felt so embarrassed that she accidentally wild-shaped into a small seal and hid underneath the water.
That happened, guys. That happened.
They could only see bubbles when she was breathing underwater. And everyone started laughing, but for me, it felt like it was the right thing to do for Sionnach's anxiety and also mine. And I do remember as well, also when she was cursed, I decided that her only wild shape form she was going to use from now on would be a giant spider or a spider in general, just because I wanted to make her extra dark, when it comes to roleplay.
She was going through her emo phase.
Goth.
She was, oh my God, she was too goth. I don't blame her. It was hard for her. But let's talk about feats now. There are a lot of cool ones on the list. I usually love playing with longbows, so sharpshooter for me is a must. More damage, please. What about you, Val?
Well, the only feat I will ever choose in general is a Warcaster feat. And only after I get some ability score improvements first. But it has literally saved me so many times as a druid because all my spells are always concentration. And never forget to make sure, guys, that you have a good constitution when you play a druid. It's crucial. And you talked about sharpshooter, and I want to say that when I played the ranger, I loved it. It felt like I was invincible, dealing so much damage with my longbow. It was the first time I wasn't healing anyone. I was just going straight and damaging enemies.
Sharpshooter is high risk, high reward. That's why I love it as a
I
feat.
do too.
And if you play, something range friendly, guys, don't even think about it. It's your first feat you have to take. The first one. Choose it.
The first one
Make
is really
yours-
good.
Yeah, make yourself a favor.
I also want you to tell me, is there a feat you initially underestimated or regret not choosing earlier in your character's development? How might it have altered your character's journey, maybe?
I don't think so, actually. I pick a fit whenever it is most needed. Of course, I would like more of them, but I can play a variant human fighter all the time. What about you?
Well, I never felt like I needed to take a feat, apart from always choosing Warcaster after I get to level 8. So there are loads of good ones, obviously, but they wouldn't work for me the way I somehow always decide to play my characters most of the time. But I do feel like when you play melee classes, there are loads of feats that help you out, like Sentinel, for
Mhm.
example, especially if you're a monk, or Mobile for a rogue, maybe. So if I ever played something like that, I'd consider it definitely.
Oliver has Sentinel. As a paladin, it is very, very useful,
It
to be
is.
honest. So, guys, this is it for today's session. Take care. Until next time, may all your rolls be a natural 20. Bye!
Bye bye.